way, we have immediate changes coming in as Xiaolao, who is indeed swapped in, replacing Nuguri for only his third game ever in the LPL. Let's see what he pulls out here as the Jace pick immediately gets locked in. EDG actually opting to ban out the Aphelios despite it not doing so well in the previous game. And of course taking away Doing Beast Aurelia, which did very well in the previous few games. And already, FPX going with the Viego pick, of course, a favorite of Tien, his most played champion in the jungle role by far, and indeed the champion that he quite dominated with last game. It was quite a surprise, I think, to all when the Lilia ended up going mid, and unfortunately was not really able to scale up to the point where she was able to do as much as she could, as FPX now hovering that Wukong, a standard counter against the Jace. Of course, once you hit level 6, you have the incredible all-in potential and can begin to take over the game. That being said, in a previous game, it was, I forgot who it was, but if the Jace manages to hard smash the Wukong enough, then the Wukong is literally going to be useless for the entirety of the game. So there are still avenues here as a few rapid fire picks come out from both teams. The Lee Sin and TF looks like EDG. In fact, both sides going ham when it comes to the top side of the map. Not wanting to reveal anything. Of course, EDG's bot side is infamous for being absolutely stellar and incredible. And FPX's bot side, on the other hand, have shown to be not as potent as the combination of Viper and Mako. And let's see what they choose to ban here. So if you are on the side of EDG, you can go for a winning lane as well with perhaps the Kalista or the Varus. Go for additional aggressive options, of course, with some engaged supports, which you can use in that case, which, I mean, they just banned one. But either way, you can definitely use aggressive bot lane as well, so the TF doesn't have to play towards topside, while EDG does seem to be showing the inclination. FPX opting to ban the Ezreal that did so exceptionally well in game 2, while on the side of EDG, they can look to ban the other engaged support here, leaving FPX really with nothing, with no engaged supports. FPX kind of have a dive composition right now, team fighty dive composition, as EDG opting to ban the Varus, which leaves on the side of FPX, of course, the Jinx and Thresh are still available, as is the Kalista should they choose to use it, or even the Ashe, because of course FPX don't have such great engage right now, can look to pick the Knot instead and leave AD carry for the counter pick. But based on what I'm looking at here, there's really not many AD carries to choose from, and I'm quite liking this Ashe pick coming in here. Indeed, it gets locked in. On the side of EDG, they can choose to ramp up the aggression themselves also with a Kalista pick, maybe even opt for a Kai'Sa, or if they want to play more scaling, safe bot lane, they can go for the Jinx Braum, the Jinx Thresh. They can also opt for even, what else is there? Xayah Rakan as well as a Kog'Maw Lulu. That's even more scaling as well. Did not even consider that for a brief moment in time. And it looks like the Kalista is being hovered in the final few seconds. EDG shifting between aggressive and scaling as we unwind. And right now, with this pick, I would love to see a Nautilus because they don't really have very good engage. The Braum does well against FPX because FPX, of course, wants to jump into EDG, while EDG do have some decent poke options. In which case, I find the Kalista pick to be a little bit out there. A little bit out there when it comes to the total team composition fighting 5v5. Trundle, I think, is a decent pick, but again, it doesn't help you if you're engaged, so I think I would prefer a Rel or a Nautilus in this moment, even a Rakan maybe, as the Braum is indeed locked in. EDG looking for an aggressive side lanes, so that Scout looking for two aggressive side lanes where Scout can both look to leverage, while FPX going for the Rakan. Additional team fight, very hard engage. Good follow up for the Ashe arrow. So overall, both team compositions are looking like so looking at both team compositions, EDG have the stronger top side of pushing mid lane in the beginning, as well as a very aggressive bottom lane. That's most likely going to be a Hail of Blades Braum we see there. You don't regularly put Braum and aggressive in the same sentence, but in this case, I'm pretty sure there's no point in a scaling Braum when it comes to pairing with a Kalista. I still think a Rel or a Nautilus would have fit this composition a lot better, especially against an immobile champion like the Ashe. In fact, I wouldn't even have been mad to see the Jhin Bard come in here from the side of EDG, but alas, picks and bans has gone past, and let's look forward into this. So EDG with the pushing topside and mid lane means that their jungler, of course, Lee Sin TF, is quite strong, especially considering the fact that FPX in their stead have a Sylas as well as a Viego, who will hit a very strong mid-game point. But then again, Tien, of course, has been playing out of his mind on this Viego, especially as we saw in Game 2, despite things not really going the way of FPX ultimately. Let's see how this game goes. Bot side, we need to look out for EDG just going aggressive, looking for the 2v2 kills yet again. The disengage this time is pretty good with the battle dance for Crisp, as well as his ability to use the grand entrance to knock up opponents and run away. And of course, in the mid lane, it's very possible that we see Tien come from one of the sides, maybe another 3 camp clear for from the top side, looking for a mid gank. And with that mid gank, we will be able to, if he even blows TF's flash, can come for a re-gank. And of course, it's going to be quite a hectic battle between the two, because if Silas wants to get to the level 6 point, steal the TF ultimate and fly wherever he goes as well, maybe even make the plays himself. Meanwhile, TF needs to play very carefully as soon as his flash is gone, because then he becomes a lot more vulnerable to ganks, especially given the abscond and abduct from the Silas allows him to close the gap so significantly, even land a killer stun, and a follow-up from Tien would be catastrophic. So let's see what goes on in Game 3 between these two titans of the Rift. On the bottom right hand screen, of course, we're going to see who Doing B picks to be his soul-bounded companion, and it turns out it is going to be Xiaolau who is, of course, the Wukong up in the top side. So it's going to be interesting. EDG can look to play through mid, can look to play through top lane, and of course can look to play towards bot lane. And while they've left themselves a lot of avenues and a lot of gateways to play through, especially with a more lane and ganking focused jungler like the Lee Sin, I must say I think they may have exposed themselves a little bit too much. FPX, on the other hand, do have very nice scaling with the Wukong as well as the Silas, and of course the Ashe. Ashe will be a huge nuisance come the mid to late game, especially since you don't have really too much to pick her off. What EDG have in the late game for the Ashe is pretty much a flank from JJ and a beautiful insect, and that really is not what I would call very good engage. In fact, EDG, like I was saying in Champ Select, really are suffering from a lack of engage, and let's see how that works out for them, as it looks like a leashless start for both junglers. Up in the top side, we have FPX starting out again in the top side, doing his red buff into his Krugs, most likely into Wolves later. Don't really expect him to follow through with the Raptors. Of course, it is quite hard to clear that with all the single target damage you do, and already Xiaolau jumping in onto Flandre level 1, having just hit level 2, timing it perfectly, forcing out a flash from Flandre, and now the wave is going to start building. The next wave is coming in as well as the Hawkshot scouts out JJ, showing the rest of FPX exactly where he is. So it is possible if Tien wants to start making his way up to his top side. Look, a wave is already kind of starting to be built, but Flandre will be able to trim it because of his range advantage, of course, so I don't really expect too much to happen. But look, what do we see here? Tien's actually taking the opposite route I would have expected, walking away from his bottom side jungle, instead towards the top side where JJ is farming out his wolves. Will be going to clear out his blue buff. Now Tien going to phase check him. It is level 3 to each jungler. JJ having just one camp above, and both of them passing each other like ships in the night. I'm not sure if Tien knows exactly where he is based on the pings, and I don't really see any pings going down onto JJ, which means I think Tien just has a rough idea that he might be here. In fact, if he placed his ward a little bit more to the left, he would have definitely spot him out. And now JJ popping the cone, the vision cone, will still not spot Tien. In fact, now that he's... Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies. A bit of sound caught me off guard. So we'll still not spot Tien. In fact, Tien now making his way towards mid lane between the vision. Scout has no idea he's here, expecting his jungler to be there, forced to flash away, and this is exactly what we talked about previously as Scout turns back to get the gold card out onto him. Down the bot side, we see FPX's bot side is already getting a push on, making a way down. Mako is being engaged now onto by Crisp as Viper is taking a ton of harass, but on the top side, Scout is being jumped on by both Tien and Doing B, and he does eventually go down. So a very long series of events in the bot side, FPX continuing as Crisp forced to flash away. Mako jumping in after him, using his passive procs, eventually bringing him down as Mako now taken so very low, eventually doesn't manage to get killed by LWX, but Doing B coming in with the Kingslayer, finishing up where everyone else left off. But now could the fight continue as JJ now with a pincer position, Sonic Wave lands, Tien lands the Spectral Maul for the stun. Doing B will have his spells available soon, will be able to get away from this as Scout lands gold card now onto Tien. Is a blue buff being taken now, but LWX and Chris will be here first, so FPX will have priority. EDG forced to back off off, and a very long series of events starting out from mid lane towards topside. Scout somehow going down and then getting back onto the map, teleporting bot side, looking to pick up Doing B after he came in for Mako. So far, EDG's bot side showing their 2v2 prowess, showing their ability to just take over the lane at least. And right here, this is actually an insane play coming in from Tian. JJ was in the top side. Scout must have been so surprised seeing Tian come from that position when JJ was right above him, where it's supposed to be his safe side, as a flash spectral maul comes in, and then Doing B just follows up with the Abscon, Abduct, Kingslayer. And of course, during this whole time, we were watching the bot side shenanigans as Elderx has flash still, and the Hail of Blades coming in, Mako landing a very quick stun. But the Unbreakable, of course, does come up, dodging out, blocking that W damage. Meanwhile, on the top side, Xiaolao, who actually, despite the health discrepancy, is actually having a perfectly okay time picking up a decent amount of CS. He is going to hit level 6 in about the next 2. He needs about 15 CS, I think, to go. So about 3 more waves before he manages to hit that very important level 6 mark, at which point he can look to get some damage done onto Flandre, even looking to all-in him. See, the all-in is also very important for the Wukong, because if you do fail your all-in, you will not have kill pressure on the Jace, at least until you are off cooldown with your ultimate yet again, as JJ now finishing up what looks to be his... Wait, that's his first blue buff. JJ actually still has yet to complete his first blue buff. Meanwhile, Tian having fully completed his clear, both junglers even on CS, but Tian still able to get a successful gank off, leading him to a kill. So right now he is a bit ahead of JJ, as you see in the gold difference, about 400 gold right now. The kill score is still 2-2, 1k in advantage of EDG right off the bat in this initial part of the game, and that is of course to be expected in the top side. I would say no, it's not, but it's to be expected considering what has been drafted, as JJ now looking for a dive, but the ward will warn Xiaolao, who he is looking to back off, but Tian is coming in from base, and as the ultimate has been stolen in the mid lane by Doing B. I'm not sure if he's got enough mana, in fact, to use his ultimate, as they're looking for a dive now. Xiaolao eating the shock blast to the face as in comes the Destiny. Cyclone comes in, Flandre being knocked up. Eventually, Xiaolao does get knocked down, but Flandre is quickly picked up by Doing B. Lots of damage coming in as Tian enters to pick up another, actually no, pick up an assist. It was Doing B ultimately who got that meal on the bot side. FPX looking for a 2-on-2 kill as Chris knocks him up with the grand entrance, but is forced to run away with the battle dance as the Ren comes through, chunking LWX for all that he is worth. And while this is not as bad as game 2 under the oppressive gaze of Viper's Ezreal as well as Mako's Karma, this is pretty bad, as now Scout is jumping in, level 4 to level 6 of Scout, and LWX is going to go down. Chris trying his best to buy time, using the grand entrance, using the battle dance, but eventually the damage coming through is too much. 1 kill for Viper, 1 kill for Scout, and across the board both teams, as is similar to game 2, are just trading blows across the board. We are seeing non-stop action, 9 kills in a 7-minute game, 2,000 gold lead now in favor of EDG. As we look at the items, 3-0, 20 CS ahead is Viper over LWX. Meanwhile, in the top side, Flandre being jumped onto by Xiao, using the decoy to just ensure that he doesn't get any damage traded back onto him. And let's see what happened in the mid lane here. This is how Doing B got the Destiny ultimate, but look at the amount of mana he has. I'm kind of surprised he was able to use it. In the bottom left hand scene, we see, oh my goodness, Scout just being pounced on by 3 players of FPX. JJ now looking to share his fate. Tian does have flash, does not opt to use it, and a ward hop later he finds himself in safe. He gets tagged up by the wildcards. It's now a 2v3 situation up in this mid lane, but Mako is already level 5 while Crisp is only level 4, and the gold lead amongst supports heavily in favor of Mako. 500 gold ahead of his counterpart, and looking seemingly very significantly ahead in terms of experience as well, as FPX start to make some plays towards his bot side. Tian is doing the dragon, Doing B and Chris looking to jump onto Mako here, who is just clearing out a control ward, and it looks like Doing B going over the wall will not find anybody, as we do have JJ up towards the top side doing the Rift Tower. Meanwhile, Viper trying to stop the wave from crashing, trying to deny whatever semblance of a possible dive could come in here, but with Mako joining him with the Unbreakable, there will be no way for the Ash Arrow engage to go down, as Scout needs to be careful, as Doing B does not have flash, but will be able to hit him with an Abscon Abduct if he tries. Crisp now is level 4 to the level 6 of Mako, actually significantly behind Xiaolao, who comes in from over the wall, but looks like they will be able to zone out the remainder of EDG, as it's a 3v3 right now. And in the bot side, a bunch of pings going down. EDG's bot lane just exerting so much pressure. LWX does have flash available, gets tagged out by the Winter's Bite, and Chris is being chased down. Again, look at the level disparity. Mako absolutely 2 levels higher than Crisp right now, but JJ jumping in trying to take the Rift Herald does immediately get knocked up by the Cyclone and taken out by the 3-man squad of FPX. So while there's a win in the top side for FPX, there is a loss in the bottom side, as EDG continuously pressure the counterparts on their side of FPX. And look at the CS discrepancy, 30 CS, 3 kills in favor of EDG. Looking at the goal, he is almost 2,000 ahead of LWX, who is not feeling good right now. But good news is that is an Ashe, and Ashe, of course, is one of the utility AD carries that you pick. And at the top side, Flandre jumping onto the Shadow, who is a bit low on mana, needs to be careful. No Cyclone is available, that's probably why he does it. But Shadow flashing onto him, using the Q, using the crushing blows, using his range, using the Nimbus strike, and takes out Flandre. Flandre jumping in with 2 the skies a little bit too aggressively, and Shadow, who's seeing an opening, jumping in. But in the bot side, immediately we see a trade coming out here as EDG making their plays towards the bot side, but it's a 4v4. Teleport is not available for either top laners. Not that Shadow, who really wants to come down here, as JJ jumping in now onto Tian, who's taking so much damage, and over the wall goes the rest of EDG. Jumps through is Mako along with the ultimate as the Destiny comes in, trying to jump in onto Doinby. I don't think he's gonna have enough follow up here as Mako trying to get in range for a Winter's Bite, but the Wolves were blocking it as Viper now looking to try and slow up Crisp as well. Meanwhile on the bot side, LWX buying himself some very nice time alone with the waves, able to pick up some of that CS. Still 30 CS down, however. And a nice attempt made here by the members of EDG to make something happen. Do eventually end up with a kill onto Tian, as well as that blue buff. Meanwhile, Doinby here looking for his ultimate to steal. Looks like he doesn't have it off cooldown just yet, and we'll be able to push in this wave without fear. Tian still stepping into his jungle, realizing that he does have bot priority, can perhaps look for something here, but JJ has already long left. In fact, the next minor objective that has just respawned is EDG's own blue buff, but I don't think FPX have a strong enough top side for this, as we see what happens here. Tian going a little bit too deep, as EDG were able to collapse first due to the sheer number of... what the heck happened? Due to the sheer number of members from EDG there, thanks to the priority they are getting permanently bot side. And with that, Plated Stone Greaves coming in, really Viper has put himself in a very safe position, because of course 3 members of FPX only do AD. Meanwhile, FPX have only 1 mid laner that does AP damage. Now Flandre is going to get jumped onto here as the quickness is blown to the skies, brings him even closer as the knockup comes in as well. There's really nothing that could be done here. Teleport was used by Scout to try and save his top laner, but look, in the bot side, LWX forced to hug his tier 2 tower. In fact, he is not getting anything back here. Looking at the XP, Viper level 8 gold lead, 2,000 ahead. It's finally arrived as EDG's bot lane just absolutely dominating. Looks like FPX looking to rotate LWX away from bot side, looking to get him towards mid lane. Can use his Ashe arrow as we see here flying onto Scout. Nice sidestep coming in here as Doinby jumped forward with the Abscon, was not in range for anything else, as Viper eventually takes down the first tower of the game, granting himself a nice 600 gold infusion. And let's see what EDG do next. Will they rotate their bot laners to the top lane and send... oh, a nice ultimate coming in here from Shalahu, but Flandre knocking him back, keeping himself safe, doing a pretty good job. Mako has found his way towards the top side, and so far Vision in the on-side of EDG is pretty fantastic, although it is mostly defensive, which is kind of odd, but you know what, it's fine. Now let's see what EDG opt to do here, as this is how Scout ended up dying, I suppose. As oh, that's a catastrophe. I think Doinby couldn't believe it, and even though he misses the abduct, Scout was still knocked out by the Grand Entrance coming in here from Crisp, who now finds himself in a quite perilous position as well. Viper stepping forward aggressively as he did on the Vayne in Game 1, but this is not quite the same champion, as right now the volleys coming in, tagging out all the members of EDG. We have a flank coming in from Tian, but JJ is warding it off. Meanwhile, in the top side, both the top laners have no flash, but look like they have no interest in participating in any of the fights with their team, just trying to do their own thing. And Dragon is spawning now in 5 seconds time. Shalahu jumping forward, Flandre to the skies again, quite aggressively, needs to be careful, is behind in terms of gold by about 1,200 as well as 1 level. And looking at the items, Divine Sunder is complete now onto Xiaolahu, while Flandre on the other hand does not even have his yet, as the Destiny coming in. This looks to be Doinby. Xiaolahu just tanking up the tower. In comes the Everfrost, in comes the Kingslayer, in comes the Abscon Abduct, and Doinby picking up himself another kill, while JJ will pick up the first dragon for EDG. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Scout is going to be able to push some waves into the tower, so it looks like FPX are going to trade top tower for some bot tower damage, because I don't think Scout will be able to take that tower. Of course, he's channeling his recall now, not quite sure where Tian is, and of course Tian can definitely solo him at this point in time. Looks like they spotted him out, but Scout will not stay any longer, opts to back off, not knowing of course where Xiaolahu and Doinby were at that time. Would love to have a look at the gold actually, as oh my goodness, Viper nearly 3,000 gold ahead of LWX. But Rift Herald is spawning soon. That's going to be the next point of contention. So far, in terms of wards, pretty even. We have 6 wards in the river, 3 to each team. But Flandre right now is significantly behind of Xiaolahu. And that's not only the worst thing, of course, because Xiaolahu is a team fighting champion as well, which means that Flandre is not going to have such a good time in team fights. He's only really going to be able to put down some poke. And if he hits the squishy members of LWX, of Chris, maybe they'll be in a good position, but Tien stepping out way too far forward, gets tagged up by the Winters by using the Spectral Maul to jump away. And it looks like nothing further will occur as EDG enter the river, looking to clear out whatever visions, set out some of their own as well. But already, Xiaolahu making his way up from bot side as the ultimate is stolen from Braum this time for doing B. Meanwhile, Flandre is getting the waves pushed in under tower, needs to start running away, but it looks like FPX are not at all interested in him, more interested in the Rift Herald, and Scout does not have teleport but does have the Destiny available as Flandre is in position as well, but it looks like EDG are severely out of position as a whole as Chris jumps in now onto Mako. Mako not very tanky, of course, he has the Hail of Blades and not the Guardian, but it's still building tank, and in comes Flandre with the Shout Blast, not empowered as the smite goes down, and JJ is instantly pounced onto Mako in the front line trying to do his best, but the Rakan ultimate is so huge in this situation, as is the Cyclone Viper, knocked up twice by the ultimate, as in comes Tien with the Lee Sin stolen with the Sonic Waves, and he jumps in, sealing off the deal. 4 kills in favor of FPX, even picking themselves up a Rift Herald in this entire situation, and EDG, not sure what they were doing, severely out of position, and coming to contest it so late, funneling into a choke point with the quickness as well as the ultimate stolen from Doingby, which was the Fisher, of course, and of course the Cyclone. It was suicide. And what are we looking at here? Wait a minute. Where's the Eye of the Herald? Tien doesn't have it. Maybe someone else has it. Anyways, very nice engage coming in here from the members of FPX, actually looking to just ward JJ away and not allow him to steal it. But look at this choke points. This is exactly where FPX want to fight in EDG. I'm really not sure what they were thinking going for this fight. Oh, catastrophe. At least not everything went FPX's way. If you're an EDG fan, you can rest easy knowing that they didn't get the Rift Herald. They didn't get the Eye of the Herald. They might have smited Rift Herald away, but alas, they did not get the Eye of the Herald. As, hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen, just give me a quick pause. And we are back once again. So right now, looking at the gold, FPX, of course, as to be expected after what just went on, are ahead now by about 3,000 gold. Meanwhile, EDG doing pretty alright. Viper is still significantly ahead in terms of gold. Look at him, he's got a second item completed as well as his boots, as opposed to LWX, who still has yet to get his shield bow going. And for anyone who is watching FPX, anyone who's watching this series looking for weaknesses in either team, I think it's blatantly obvious from this point forward that every team is going to realize FPX do have a rather weak bottom side, at least not one that can stand up to the ravages of EDG. And on the same note, EDG, on the other hand, have an absolutely stellar bottom side that you can play through. So it's kind of interesting how both these teams kind of fit together like jigsaw pieces. So EDG have a strong bot side, but FPX seem to have a much stronger top side. At least Flandre, it just doesn't seem to be the type where you can play a carry role with. Now Mako is being jumped onto by Doingby here. Ultimates were traded here. It was actually no, Ultimates was used by Doingby as they're trying to jump in yet again. Tien poking in very aggressively, and the top side Scout is still getting a push done. JJ is going to shadow him, and with just 3 people, EDG managed to ward away 4 members of FPX. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Xiaolao, who is pushing in, Dragon is spawning in 50 seconds, triggering a synchronous recall coming out from FPX. Everyone is just gonna go back, get some items, get pink wards, get control wards, get their vision. LWX finally finishing his mythic item, in fact behind his support. Absolute catastrophe, honestly. Meanwhile, JJ just pillaging what he can, taking away what he can from the side of FPX. A little bit unconventional, his pathing, no doubt, but in a dire situation as this in the last game of the summer split, regular season at least, what can you do but be unconventional? Xiaolao, who already finishing up the Tiamat, means that he will be able to clear waves extremely fast and hit up for duels and fights. Doingby pushing out the top side, does have teleport available, but needs to be careful, of course. Scout, if he had anyone else around him like JJ, could potentially look for something, and though I think Doingby can actually 1v2 them. In this situation, FPX will be able to get mid-prio, shove out their side lanes, and most likely this dragon will go in their favor. This is only their second dragon, so EDG don't really have too much of a reason to try and contest this, but doing B now 6-0-5, having completed his Zhonya's, is one whole item ahead of his counterpart in Scout. And you know, I think I identified the wrong player. FPX's strength isn't really their top side, it's their mid-jungle duo synergy kind of thing. As Doing B now is teleporting in. Looks like Flandre is about to be flanked here as Chris running in does have the Shurelia's battle song, does use it in fact. Now Doing B stepping forward yet again. This looks like Deja Vu as Scout and JJ are towards the top side while the rest of FPX and Doing B are towards his bottom side. It is 4 people over here trading very aggressively. Tian channeling a Spectral Maw. Mako might be stunned up here. It does put down the control ward to spot him out. Shala, who in the meanwhile is trying to chunk out this tower as much as possible. JJ has found his way down here and Scout has returned back to base, does have the Destiny available so they can look to make a pick, but FPX are playing so well together, actually playing through 2 lanes, no interest at all in spreading themselves too thin as Mako's jumped in again yet again by both Doing B and Tian, taken so incredibly low. It's managed to jump out of the fight as Doing B forced into the Zhonya's, but in comes the Cyclone from Shala, who knocking up 2 members, and Mako and Viper in the sidelines unable to do anything as the knockup just absolutely disrupts all of his damage potential output as Chris jumps in aggressively between 2 towers. That tower isn't even available. Tian picking up Viper's corpse, triggering a shield bow to help him stay alive under the inhibitor tower, and right now FPX are going to make their way towards Baron. It was a 3-for-1 trade as LWX taking the short end of the stick, I suppose, in that situation, but then again losing him for Viper even is a fantastic trade on the side of FPX, and right now things are looking mighty dire for EDG because of course drafting to be able to win through 2 side lanes means that you do not have such great scaling to rely upon, but JJ has made his way around the end of the Baron pit, revealing himself now with that blast, with that plant, and looks like teleport is coming here. That is Flandre. JJ throwing out the Sonic Wave. FPX stop the damage first, but JJ does have a ward jump. He can get into the pit. Is 1.2k, 1.k, 900k, and FPX flying in from over the wall, actually absolutely abandoning any hopes of fighting as EDG were looking to sweep them over there. But I love the call as every member of FPX uses whatever mobility spell they had, using flashes if they must, going over the wall and escaping the onslaught of EDG. JJ had pretty much traded places with whatever remained of FPX, and that was great because there was a potential for EDG to come back to that. All their members were alive. They were running down, barreling towards Baron buff. And right now, FPX have managed to avoid a fight ever so beautifully. And a nice pick here onto Mako, who manages to escape from this nonetheless. But Doing B, of course, able to avoid. Look at Viper on the sidelines. They're trying to get some damage off, but really not being in range. Throws out a Q, and that's really all he does. Lands 1 auto attack, lands 2 auto attacks, knocks up everybody, and then Shala, who jumps onto him, knocks him up, and then the rest of FPX just pile onto him. And really, what can he do when the ghost of his support even is just hammering away at him, applying the Braum passive stacks, and then the knockups, of course, as previously mentioned, and right back where the replay ended off, we find ourselves in this exact choke point where FPX did manage to get that fight, which allowed them to take the Baron buff. JJ is on the flanks here, but FPX are still looking to play through 2 lanes. No interest at all in the top side. The only interest in top side, of course, was the Baron, but the wave, in terms of the lane, they are not interested at all in playing through more than 2 lanes. It looks like they will back off now. Dragon is spawning in a minute and 50 seconds. Interesting that they do recall, sending Doing B up there to push out 1 more wave and then probably look to group again towards bot and mid lane yet again. And if we look at items, LWX is still so crazily far behind. It's kind of insane. Meanwhile, Flandre, while he has completed his 2 items as well, it's not doing bad, but Shala, who definitely is ahead in terms of, I think, building now towards a Hydra by the looks of it. And then Doing B with the Magi Soul Stealer is now working his way towards what looks to be a Cosmic Drive as well. Across the board, EDG are just behind in terms of items now. Doing B walking into what looks like 4 people as teleport is coming in. There's Shala, who Flandre does not have his teleport available. Looks to be a 4v5 situation as Scout is stuck, absolutely pincered and pinned against the wall by the members of FPX. And there goes your only form of wave clear, EDG. There goes your tier 2 tower top lane 2, I suppose. And really, what is stopping FPX from getting your inhibitor at this point in time? Because you don't have Scout anymore. Not that he was really able to clear too much of the waves, because of course TF doesn't really scale very well. In pro play, he's always a utility stun bot towards the end of the game. And right now, he doesn't even have components of his rapid fire cannon as Doomie throws out the ultimate, Mako's ultimate right onto him as well. Mako responding with his own to try and disengage, and Mako chunked to so incredibly low. But look at this, EDG just don't have the engage available. JJ is their only form of engage, and looks like he's gonna jump in on to Chris, kicking him into his team, but JJ instantly getting pounced on. Scott jumping in as well. Chris taken so incredibly low, eventually taken out by the last auto attack coming in from Viper, but Doomie jumping in now on to Flandre. 10 is over the wall as well. Heartbreaker goes down, Flandre follows suit. Mako might get tagged up here by the ult. Oh wait, oh, I didn't know that if you picked up a Jace, you get whatever form he is in. Because if he had the Shout Blast, I think he could look for a snipe onto Mako in that situation. But it looks like FPX have had enough of this game, want to spare LWX whatever they can, as this is the first fight in a long time. We see LWX actually survives. Viper stepping forward, nearly getting tagged up by the Everfrost, as Doing B does have the Destiny available, and is indeed using it to ensure they get bot priority in preparation for this dragon. In fact, it looks like FPX are not even going to take it immediately, are going to allow their AD carry to get back to the base. Ultimates now all down. This is perhaps the best time for EDG to look for a fight. Unfortunately, all of theirs are down as well, and Dragon will fall, bringing it to sole point for FPX. Looking at the gold now, 7,000 in favor of FPX. And in the LPL, these kind of gold leads generally, especially when you're talking about the two top teams in the league, it's not something you come back from if you're EDG. Not only is it the composition, not only is it, okay, we see Chris being the new chosen one here for Doing B with the Black Spear, which of course, for those of you who don't know, even if you Black Spear the wrong person as Kalista, or in this case Silas, you can pick up another Black Spear for free in the base, and of course just reapply it to whoever you choose to. Now, FPX this is not really EDG. First off, you don't come back from a game like this at 7,000 behind against EDG. You don't come back against FPX with this kind of goal lead, and then not to mention, you really don't have a team composition that fits it. So right now, FPX looking to start what looks to be the final push. Baron is spawning in a minute's time, which means we might see FPX just go for the safe play, push some waves in, group up together, take this mid inhibitor, and then back off into the Baron. Because of course, if they by some freak accident do end up losing a fight here, they could of course begin a snowball comeback in favor of EDG, although the composition really doesn't fit it. EDG still play very well together as a team and can definitely pull out a miracle if you give them the opportunity. But right now, it looks like they're just trying to get this bot lane tower to fall as well as the inhibitor. But EDG defending it admirably well. As Shala, who jump in now onto Viper, who somehow managed to separate himself from his team, and now in the stopwatch position is going to be left right in front of Shala, who Mako trying to save him with this Fate's Call as well as the Winter's Bite. But alas, it is not enough, and the remainder of EDG falls, which crowns FPX as the top seed going into playoffs, as it looks like TF has slain TF, and the last trace of Viego will leave this map. Much like the Ruination storyline, Viego ultimately does fall, and our heroes do emerge victorious, except in this situation, Viego was on the same team as our heroes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll hope to see what happens as the story unfolds of FPX trying to make their way back towards Worlds, hopefully trying to go and contest for that second win, while EDG, one of the LPL's most long-standing organizations, one of the old guard, let's see if they will be able to get into Worlds and perhaps for the first time in their organization's history secure themselves a win, a global championship win, the win that matters the most for anyone in the League of Legends competitive scene. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. See ya!